Why do I feel not confident? I've been developing vaccines now as director of the Institute for 36 years. You should never feel confident when you're dealing with something that requires a randomized placebo-controlled trial to prove it. You feel confident when you start to see the data come in. So what I'm confident is in data. I'm not confident in guessing or surmising. But having said that, the reason I do feel cautiously optimistic is that when you look at the early response, both in the animal data, but importantly in the human phase 1, it induces a response with neutralizing antibodies that's at least as good, if not better, than the plasma of convalescent people, which tells me that's a good start. It's not a guarantee, Ashish, but it's a good start. So that's my cautious optimism. Second part of your question, the speed. Everybody's concerned about, well, and good people who I deeply respect say, how could you possibly say you might have one at the end of the year, the beginning of 2021? Well, let me give you one frame and you could extrapolate at multiple steps. When you make a vaccine for a pathogen that you need to grow up in the classic way and then inactivate it or attenuate it, and even when you use molecular means, when we made a vaccine against SARS, the original SARS, it was a DNA platform. From the time we got the sequence to the time we went into phase 1 was 20 months. We went from sequence of the mRNA, which we got on January 10th. We started to work on the 15th. We were on a phase 1 62 days later. There was no compromising of safety because we never even went near a patient. But the time from doing the platform technology, we saved a year already. So then you go to, what about the phase 3 that we started last week? The reason is we did everything at risk. So time out before somebody takes that and makes it a soundbite. The risk is to the money. The risk is not to the patient. So we make investments in clinical trial sites. We do guaranteed purchases of vaccine before we even know it works. So right away, what you're doing is you're saving a lot of time. So in that context, given that we started, and it's not just one vaccine, we got 6 vaccines that are going in sequentially, but 2 got started on January 27th, the Pfizer and the Moderna. So take the Moderna, which I know more about because it was developed here in collaboration with Moderna. You get a prime on day 0, a boost on day 28, and then what you do is you try in a period of a month and a half to 2 to enroll individuals. If we do that, we will likely be fully enrolled in the early fall, let's say October sometime. If there's a lot of hot infections then, we hopefully will get an answer sometime around November or December. And if it's really hot infections, it could be a little bit early. I don't know. My personal opinion, with no guarantee, that we'll probably have an answer sometime November, December. Now, I hope that answer is that it's safe and effective, but I can't guarantee it. You only can rely on my cautious optimism. Then the next question is, what about getting vaccine for people? They've already guaranteed they're going to have hundreds of millions of doses in 2021. If you look at the first couple of months of 2021, we're not going to have 100 million doses. We're going to have tens of millions of doses, which means that we got to prioritize, which is your fourth question. How about people like the elderly and those with underlying conditions? The standard way that you're very familiar with, when you have a paucity of interventions and you got to prioritize, the Advisory Committee for Immunization Practices is a standard committee that advises the CDC. So it's their responsibility. What we're doing, the NIH and CDC together have commissioned the National Academy of Medicine to complement that process by getting a group of independent individuals, ethicists, biologists, et cetera, to help them make the recommendations. I don't know what they're going to be, but if it's like we usually do, you'll prioritize healthcare workers, frontline people, those who need it the most, the elderly, those with underlying conditions. We do hope that the elderly will get a good response. The way you determine that is you make sure your vaccine trials have people who are perfectly well and young, people who are elderly and well, and people who are elderly and or young with underlying conditions. They're going to be tried. So we're going to know at the end of the trial whether or not you induce a good response in those individuals.